Every day we see more tents under bridges, more families living out of cars. And while the problems seem insurmountable, the solutions are simpler than you think. We share the real stories and the real solutions of homelessness, what works, what doesn't, and how communities like ours can do better. I'm Baron King, and this is Give Me Shelter. So we have something a little bit different for you today. A lot of times we're talking about systems and problems related to homelessness, and we always try and share stories, but today is going to be really driven by stories, and there's a reason for that. But first, let me talk about the problem. As I've gotten deeper into this area of homeless services, what I've found is that we have a problem looking at homelessness. Some of that relates to our biases, some of that relates to our knowledge gaps, and some of it even relates to our neurobiology. And what I mean is when we look at images of homelessness, maybe it's the panhandler, maybe it's somebody on a curb, somebody in a tent, it's difficult for us to look at it, and it triggers us. They've done studies involving brain scans where they had people watch images of homelessness, and while they were analyzing electricity with inside different lobes of the brain, and what they found as areas of the hippocampus and lower insular would light up, and it was the same areas that would be triggered when people would see images of somebody vomiting. And so reason I bring that up is there's something deeply disturbing about looking at images of homelessness. And why it's a problem is if we can't look at something, accurately, it's going to get in the way of us coming alongside of individuals or systems or whatever and coming up with answers and solutions. And so what we want to do, what we've done is we've created this project, and we call it the Portrait Project. And I'm fortunate enough to have my good friend, Professor Billy Weeks. He's a professor of communication and journalism, photojournalism at the University of Tennessee-Chattanooga. Billy, thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me today. It's exciting to be here.
And this project really came about 3 years ago. I was walking down our sidewalk right by our McClellan Shelter for Families, and I was aware that one of our shelter residents had recently given birth. And as I was walking down the sidewalk, I was right by the picnic tables, and I could see the woman sitting on the picnic tables, holding a newborn as I was walking up behind her. And as I got around her, I was able to glance and see that she was just intently looking at her child and just beaming with joy. And there was so much beauty in that moment amidst a lot of uncertainty, a lot of struggle. And 11th Street is not the easiest place to live, especially if you're unsheltered. And yet I was struck by the juxtaposition of the joy and the beauty of this woman and her child amidst a lot of struggle and a lot of suffering. And that gave me this idea that if we could capture images of people that were going through homelessness and be able to amplify not only their humanity and their dignity, but also their story. Because as you've heard me say, there's 100 ways to homelessness, and every story is different. And I think for most of us, we get caught up in some of the mythology around homelessness, and we fail to realize what is it in somebody's life that changes their course to where they're now homeless, they're now unsheltered, and they need a lot of help and assistance. One quote that has stuck with me over the last couple of years is by Mother Teresa, and she says, "We can't help them because we don't love them, and we don't love them because we don't know them." So what we're going to do today is bring you closer into the men, women that we help every day. And I'm hoping that this will change your mind a little bit. For those of you that are listening on audio, maybe on Spotify or Apple, I'd encourage you to watch this episode on YouTube where you can see the full video, because we're going to have these portraits up on the screen, and I'd love for you to be able to see those. But we're going to be talking through the story. So if you can't switch to to video, that's fine. You're still going to get something out of this episode. But um, Billy, tell me about this project and what we did to set it up.
So back in, I guess, October of last year, I got a call from your communication director, Holly Reeves, and she wanted to meet and talk about making some portraits. And I had done something for another organization about 8 or 9 years ago, I guess, and something similar to that project is what we talked about. And but at the time, I was pretty busy and I couldn't get to it. I teach a lot of classes, and I also do a lot of photojournalism for different organizations. So I was pretty busy. So we put it off until January, and I had like a week break in January, like the 1st of January, to sit down and talk. And it was really cold and really, really pouring rain, and the weather wasn't good. So what we did is we went over to the Chat Foundation on 11th Street, and we built a studio in the break room, and then we just over 2 days just invited people to come in and talk to us. And this would be a studio set up with a couple of lights and a backdrop, and not descriptive at all. It was all about the people we wanted to talk to, and kind of the purpose of that was to for them to share with us without visual clues to their background or wherever they were. And it was quite important to me that we lose the environment that was around them. We see them on the streets, and maybe we see them on the sidewalk, and we already have this notion of who they are and what they are built
Yeah.
into our head from other stories in the media, and I wanted to eliminate that. And so the background was very simple. The lighting was very simple. I wanted it to all be driven on the personalities of the people we were interviewing.
Yeah. And so with the first couple days, you were actually at our facility inside, but then you had an opportunity, I think, a week or two later to do something a little different. Talk about that.
Yeah, we did. I got an opportunity with some help from a couple of counselors and important people in the homeless community to go out into the camps, and so we did. I went out with a veterinarian crew that you don't think about the unhoused community depending on pets, but it's true, and a lot of them are very lonely, and I think the animals do a couple of things for them. So we got to travel with a veterinarian crew. We went out into a couple of the camps, and they would talk to them about care for their animals, and they would talk about the importance of the animals to them. And when you'd walk up to a camp, the animals would make noise, and these are people who who are in total survival mode sometimes, and I think having a kind of a built-in alarm that there's people coming is important to that. And so we got to visit with this, and the first guy that we visited with, I want to say he had 3 dogs and 8 cats, and it was remarkable to watch the veterinarians and the veterinarian assistants, just take over at that point. And they would examine the animals, and then the counselor from the Chat Foundation, Casey, was with us, and she would directly go to the person and talk to the person, and it was pretty amazing to watch that in action.
So with this whole project, what stood out to you the most?
Well, I think what stands out the most to me in these projects is that you realize that they're just people. At the end of the day, these are people, and they have friends. They have friends within their own community, and I think they are anxious and driven actually to make friends beyond that. But some of the people, I think, are concerned, and they're wondering where their next meal is coming from. They're wondering about their health. They're wondering about the community because the politics of the situation keeps changing. And and I think that's important. But when it comes right down to it, um, just hearing the personal stories, just for one day of having somebody who struggles to come in and sit down with us and maybe eat a sandwich with us
Yeah.
and just talk to us about what their day was like. I think that was the most important thing I took from that.
Yeah. I think as we've gone through this process of this project, um, it's been amazing to me when I hear the stories and I hear their words, hearing what has led to their current condition. And I'm always drawn back to, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I don't know what I would do in that situation. And I think that's really important to get past the stereotypes, to get past um, the mythology, and to realize, hey, if X, Y, and Z happened to me, would this be my reality?
Yeah, well, many of them are quite resourceful. Others
Yeah.
are not.
Yeah.
I think this is where organizations like the Chat Foundation come in and and supply that gap,
Yeah.
right? That gap of sometimes it's just a place where they can come and talk to others that are dealing with the same thing, and then other times it's a warm meal or maybe a shower, maybe just an opportunity to have conversation. And I think sometimes we overlook how important that is.
Yeah.
And I think if you walk outside of the Chat Foundation's building there on 11th Street, you'll see this happening.
Yeah.
You'll see them slapping each other on the back and telling stories. Who knows if those stories are true?
Yeah.
And you'll also see them, you'll see them gather up in small groups,
Yeah.
and much like you would if you worked at a factory.
Yeah. The only thing that's really missing is a roof.
A roof and
Yeah.
maybe in some case a salary.
Yeah.
But I think that becomes their group, their support system.
Sure. Sure. Well, let's get to meet some of these people, shall we?
Okay, you want to look at some photos?
Yeah. Let's do that. All right. So tell us what we're looking at.
So this was on the first day that we set up a studio, and here again, just to talk a little bit about the photograph. These are very plain backgrounds and very simple lighting, and this is Rob. Rob was the last person on the first day to come and talk to us, and it was just pouring rain when he came in. And the thing about Rob was that he was in a wheelchair when he came in, and his wheelchair was not a wheelchair that was designed to travel on the sidewalk. It wasn't designed to handle the environment because his encampment was in the woods. So when Rob came in, he talked about several things, but he ended up saying a couple of things that I thought were important. First of all, he said right off that he couldn't get around because of his wheelchair. So by doing this project, and later when I went home that night, I posted on social media just with some photo friends of mine that if they had a wheelchair laying around, they should send me one. And immediately I got a call back from a friend in Knoxville, and he says, I have a brand new one. It's still in the plastic. I'm going to drive it down. So he drove it down
That's
the
awesome.
next day, and we delivered to Rob basically a brand new
Wow.
wheelchair with the big wheels on it, so he could navigate
Yeah.
the sidewalks in our city. The other thing that Rob talked about and was that his family situation, which I think is important. He mentioned that his mother had to sell their house, and in his words, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was pretty close. He said, my mom sold her house, and I got dropped off at the Chat Foundation. And here was somebody that couldn't walk, that couldn't really take care of himself, and he got dropped off by family. And in the kind of the gist of this is that he and friends that he had met there kind of rallied behind him and to support him through daily life. And of course, he also talked about the Chat Foundation and how that organization, how the people there would check on him occasionally, and I'm assuming that's Casey, that would go and check on him and support him. But he's in survival mode.
Yeah.
24 hours a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
24 hours a day. He talked about the environment that he lived in. He talked about birds that he got to know and how he enjoyed them singing to him. And you just never really understand the small things that make a big difference in someone's life.
It's hard for me to fathom that he was launched into homelessness by his own family, his own mother.
Yeah, his own family, and he was really bothered by that. I mean, he got very emotional
I'm
about
sure.
that. And I don't know his family. I don't know his background.
Right.
I don't know anything about that. I know for 30 or 40 minutes, I got to meet a remarkable person, and I think that was pretty incredible. So let's move on to Mickey.
Yeah. Oh, great.
This is Mickey, and that looks much better. So this is Mickey, and as a matter of fact, I just saw Mickey last week when I came down to your offices down. He was out front, and he was sporting a different hat, and, which was actually a hat that looks like he should have a sports car because it had that British look about it, which was really cool. But Mickey came and sat down with us, and he was a really interesting guy too. Mickey said that I pray to God every day that He will watch over me because a homeless man doesn't have a chance, and people don't feel sorry for you. Mickey talked about a lot, and he has this character about him, this that I want to help people, and that is a common theme that I heard over and over and over again. We photographed for 2 days, and we photographed 21 different people, one as a couple. We had 20 people or 19 people, and then one couple. They all had interesting stories. Many of them had common themes, and one of those common themes was, I want to help people.
Yeah.
Here's somebody who probably could very obviously need help.
Yeah.
And he's talking about helping the person with him.
Yeah.
And I found that to be a common theme. And I found it to be very humbling to listen to. But Mickey, is very cold. He's dressed here in outerwear that's dressed for being outdoors, and it was very, very interesting speaking with him.
Yeah.
Let's see who I have next. I have John. This is John Rankin.
John's a good friend of a Chat Foundation.
Yeah, John spoke very highly of the Chat Foundation and the Chat Foundation partners.
Yeah.
And the people that would reach out and help him. And I think one of the most interesting things about John was that he claims to be an artist, and I've not seen his artwork, but listening to him talk and the excitement that he brought into it was interesting in itself. And there were several of the people that we photographed that would talk about being art, dealing with art, and being an artist. But John said that he was homeless for 7 years, and that he lived in the woods with many other people, and that what he did with he met somebody, and one of the partners of the Chat Foundation came in and said, let's talk about art. And they planted that seed that he should draw
Yeah.
and paint, which he did. And then he took that back to his camp and gathered up all the people, and they built easels, and they would have afternoons where they would sit and draw and do art.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that's incredible to me. I would have
Yeah.
loved to have witnessed that.
Yeah.
I didn't get to witness that.
We're going to play a video at the end of these portraits, and you're going to get to hear some of John's own words in that. John's been remarkable. He's been housed now for, I think, 5 or 6 years, and he's actually started an organization, a nonprofit called Artists in Transition, where he tries to use this idea of art to instill hope and give people a pathway to better themselves.
He not only did he talk about creating art, he also talked about putting it in galleries and people buying his art.
Yeah.
So I can only assume that it's really quite good.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think his perspectives are also quite interesting,
Yeah.
given what his journey's been like.
This is Jeff. Jeff's a military veteran, and one of the things about Jeff, first of all, he's a very unusual personality, and I really enjoyed talking with him because you never knew.
Yeah.
You would have a conversation with him, and he would take you somewhere in his story that he would tell you. A real bubbly, friendly personality. But he told us he was a vet, and that he had issues. He had some medical issues, and we didn't go into detail what the issues were. But he did talk about having to deal with that and what that meant. And I got to tell you, I think we had 4 or 5 people in the room at the time, and I think the tone of the room changed when we figured out who we were talking to, and the respect that not only he was getting from the people in the room with us, but also that he was giving us. I mean, he took time to sit down and just talk. And I don't know what Jeff's doing today. I haven't spoken to him in a couple of months, and I don't know where he's living. We did drive by an area where we thought that he was living when I was out with one of your counselors, but he wasn't there at the time.
Gotcha.
So really, really interesting. And
he's a very gentle soul.
He is. I just love the hat.
Yeah.
So really a remarkable personality with him.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about Micah, and this is him. Is here. And one of the things that about Micah that I thought was really interesting here is that one of the first things he told me was that he chose to be homeless. He was an outdoor adventure person, and he was a fishing guide for many years. And I guess whatever happened, and that didn't work out. And he had been living on some family property in a shed. And one day he ended up in downtown Chattanooga, and he was sitting on one of the supplied benches in town, and he evidently ran across somebody, and he was wanting to fill up his water bottle, and he got invited to come to the Chat Foundation to fill up his water bottle, and he did. He came on in, and he got to know the people at the foundation, and he was really interested in being a caseworker at some point.
Yeah.
And here again, he's one who talked about, can he make a difference?
Mm-hmm.
Can he take his moment, right, and apply it to somebody else, and make a difference with that? really interesting character. And you know, you never know the background.
Right.
You just don't.
Yeah.
But we could have had conversation with him pretty much the entire day, and never would have known that he was living on the street.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Here again, this was a family conflict that led him to this.
Yeah. So his choice to be homeless wasn't a choice that happened in a vacuum. It was caused by the family strife that preceded it, and the only way out was to just leave the structure he had, and unfortunately didn't have anything else to fall back on.
I think that's the way I understand it. Is that he for whatever the reason, I'm not sure, but he could not stay where he was at.
Yeah.
So he had to leave the house.
Yeah.
And I don't know the personal background of that.
Yeah.
And I didn't ask him that. That wasn't the kind of project we were working on at the point.
Right.
Many of them shared personal backgrounds.
Yeah.
But he didn't go much further than that. But I gotta say, I would love for him to take me fishing someday. He obviously knows more about that than I do.
There you go.
And I like to fish. I just never get a chance to go.
Yeah.
So that's him. Let's move over to Rick. And Rick was really emotional.
Yeah.
With us. And there was some research that I had read that said a lot of people who were unhoused or on the streets, that a vast majority of that was people that were upper 50s to the 60s in age.
Yes.
I don't know how that applies here in Chattanooga, but you might know that.
It's correlated very directly.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when Rick came in to talk to us, this was the first week of January. One of the first things he said is, "I'll be 65 next week," and he talked about that. And he very kind person while we were talking to him, but he was very emotional. And when he talked about being homeless, and he said he had been homeless since August, so he's new at being homeless. So he'd been homeless for a few months, and it was very, very, very emotional to him. He teared up. He talked about that he really wanted to help other people. That if given the opportunity, that he could, he could make sense out of what it was like to live on the street for somebody else.
Yeah.
So much emotion, so much passion. Yeah. And his voice.
There's somebody told me a while ago, and I believe it to be true, that the first thing you lose when you become homeless is dignity. And what we find is a lot of people that are living on the street, living unsheltered, have a deep and profound sense of shame. And a lot of that comes from the way we interact with them.
Yeah.
And for those of us that avoid the panhandler on the street, that don't make eye contact, that don't feel that an individual is worth learning their name, all that has profound emotional effects on the individuals. And when we play the video, you'll get to hear his words, and it's powerful, and it's difficult, because I get the sense that he's struggling with a reality that I find would be overwhelming.
Well, here's somebody who's been a working part of the community for many, many, many years, and now he has to accept that he can't do it by himself.
And we're seeing more and more people, seniors, fall into homelessness due to a variety of reasons, but at the end of the day, not enough resources to get by. I think it's hard enough being 30 years old or 40 years old and being homeless, but to be 65 and to have many more limitations on how to improve your situation. We're in a tough situation, and it's nationwide. It's not just Chattanooga.
So how does the Chat Foundation handle somebody that's a senior?
Well, since our voucher system in Chattanooga is frozen, it used to be fairly easy to get somebody housed. We could get somebody housed in usually about 90 days. But without the vouchers, now sheltered homelessness is lasting an average of 400 days. Unsheltered homelessness is averaging 7 years. And revenue generation is really the key to getting housed, right? Where are we going to come up with the money to pay the rent?
Yeah.
So we do help people get Social Security and disability benefits, and we hope like heck that that's going to be enough to get somebody an opportunity to get into apartment. But a lot of times they're going to need to room with other people because those are limited forms of income and no way to increase the income. And it's difficult for people in his situation to get a job that will earn enough money to pay for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment. So we're finding that it is a growing challenge. And in our current political climate, where you're seeing so many safety net programs being pulled back, unfortunately, I expect that we're going to see more of our seniors fall into this situation.
Yeah. Well, and I'm of that age too. I'm not homeless, but I'm of that age, and I look at these guys and I say, I could have crossed paths with
Yeah.
these people many years
Sure.
ago and would have never known,
Sure.
never gotten even close.
Yeah.
Speaking of housing with other people, our next person is Shelley, and Shelley, I thought was an interesting personality because she talked about having an injury, having a brain injury.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that actually entails, so I don't know the background to it. But she talked about how that injury had taken her away from her family,
Yeah.
and that one of the housing organizations here in town, and I can't remember exactly which one she said, but it was downtown and it was sponsored by a church.
Yeah. So that's our St. Catherine's shelter.
St. Catherine's,
We
yes.
operate 2 subterranean overnight shelters in town. Limited space, 8 beds, but it's in the basement of the church, St. Paul's
Yeah.
Episcopal in downtown Chattanooga, and she's was fortunate enough to get a bed when we had one. Yeah.
Well, she was very grateful
Yeah.
for that opportunity, and also for the opportunity, to make food. And I don't know what the kitchen
Oh, they have a
looks
full
like over
kitchen.
there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that she had an opportunity to do work in that kitchen,
Yeah.
and you could just tell when she was talking about that how much how grateful she was for that opportunity. And then the other side of her when we were talking is that she really talked about missing her grandchildren.
Yeah.
And here again, we've got somebody that from a situation that could happen to any of us.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're all moments away.
Sure.
And she was talking about how this is the way she felt that she could survive is by having a place to stay.
Yeah.
And she was very, very, very much missing her family and her
Yeah.
her grandkids.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's probably something you see a lot of too.
We do. And sweet lady in a really difficult situation, and unfortunately, for reasons that I'm not aware of, cut off from people that you would hope would be able to
Yeah,
make a big difference in her life.
people that would support you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And speaking of that, I'm gonna jump over to Tammy here real quick. And
Hmm.
this is Tammy, and Tammy is a real character.
She is.
She has an opinion on just about everything,
Yes, she does.
and she's willing to share it.
Yes.
And but she's so much fun.
Yeah.
But she had a tragedy in her family life that she said put her on being homeless. And she said a few years back that her dad was murdered, and I don't think she ever quite got over that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine the stress that you would get from something like that. And then she later she talked that shortly after that her mom also passed away. So here's somebody that lost their family,
Yeah.
and and you know she would talk, and whatever she was talking about with us, she would stop and then come back to that over and over and over.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine.
No.
And
And I'm imagining the listeners right now are kind of getting an idea that, we always talk about the systemic problems related to housing costs and income as the main driver of homelessness. But it's rare that we encounter somebody where that's the only issue. There's usually a second or a tertiary issue. And some of these are traumas. Some of these are illnesses. Some of these are disabilities. A lot of different reasons that people just get to a place where they're not able to function, and then they lose those key structures, those key points of safety and stability.
yeah, and you could hear that.
Yeah.
you could hear that in the conversations that we were having. And I got to tell you, if you had 15 or 20 minutes to spend and talk to Tammy, your day would be brighter.
Yeah.
It just would.
Yep.
It just would.
Yeah.
Next, I want to the last two that I want to introduce here. I have photographed before, several years ago. The first one is Martha, who I know is a mainstay at the Chat Foundation.
Yeah.
She's a real go-getter, and she's worked herself into a housing situation, and she's worked herself into, as we've talked about earlier, about helping other people, which I think is really valuable. But she talked about being on the street for 7 years, and then she said something that I thought was really smart. And she said that on the street, and I'm going to read this, on the street, you don't live, you survive.
Yeah.
And you turn into someone that you're not. People will steal your things, and they'll get angry at you, and sometimes that makes you physical and verbal. If you had a conversation with Martha, you wouldn't pick up on any of that.
No.
She's like your grandmother.
Yes.
And she's like the person that would want to bake you bread and sit you down, and you would want to have lunch with her, because she's interesting and very bright, and yet she understands what it takes to survive in the worst cases. And today she's working with you guys, helping others.
She is.
I mentioned earlier that I'd spoken to Mickey, and she was helping him find a job.
Yeah.
And
so Martha, 7 years homeless, I think 10 years housed.
Yeah.
Has the fighting spirit that I would love everybody to have, because she has really clawed herself back. But she's a peer support specialist. We interviewed her here on this podcast a couple of months ago. If you haven't seen it, it's one entitled Peer Support. But really, really great story. I have to say, I've learned so much about homelessness from the very people that are either struggling with it or have risen out of it. And I owe a debt of gratitude to Martha for what she's been able to help me learn.
You know, the first time I talked to Martha, and it was about 7 or 8 years ago, it was for a different organization, and I was doing a project with them, partnering with them to do a project. And in the middle of our interview, she got very emotional and just really struggled in that interview. Very emotional, and and then when we got to the end of the interview, personality came back.
Yeah.
And it was, I'm fine. I'm going to do well today.
Yeah.
And it was just like a different person.
Yeah.
And I don't know, and even in this photo, you can see she's smiling in this picture.
Yeah.
But you don't. Rarely do I see her that she's not smiling.
Yeah. No, she's a ray of hope to a lot of people that are going through what she went through a decade ago. Yeah.
So the next one, also someone I photographed many years ago, and this is
Brandy.
Brandy, and Brandy is also a go-getter, and she talked about just getting out of homelessness. You know, just getting her feet back on the ground, just
Yes.
getting to be a survivor. And I also, as a part of that same project I was talking about many years ago, I had interviewed Brandy during that part, and she said she was blessed and highly favored in that conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that is true because she talked about her 3 children at that time. So when we came back around this time to interview her the second time, she has grandchildren now, and
Yeah.
just last week when I I had a chance to speak with her, and she you could just see I mentioned her grandchildren, and the light would come on
Yeah.
with her. But I don't think it was always that way. I mean,
No.
this is somebody who had a job that was taking care of a family. Um, I get the understanding that she's a single parent,
Yeah.
and that she was barely making. She had a job, and she was barely making enough money to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
And you know, other NGOs here in Chattanooga were helping her at that time, and now my understanding is that she's working with you guys and plays a role.
Yeah, she's housed. She's working with us. And what I would say is, you know, I get to watch her interact with the participants we serve, with our staff. And I get the impression, and I don't know this, but I get the impression that maybe for the first time in her life, she has a job and a role where the organization she works for cares about her. And we make investments in her and try and help with professional development. And I've seen her respond in such a positive way that anything that we say, hey, here's something you're doing, we can maybe do it a different way. She soaks that up. She wants to be invested in. She wants to be mentored. And it's really kind of a neat thing to see and to be around her.
Yeah. Well, you can. I get the feeling that she's grateful for this opportunity. You know, she also talks about how the Chat Foundation supported her.
Yeah.
And I think you know, it goes way beyond support. I mean, there's physical and there's financial support, but I think one of the themes that I see over and over, it's that mental support that they get from being at the Chat Foundation.
Yeah, you know, I think of our facility as often a very somber place, but you also see the community and you also see the support. And these are people that are not feeling like they're getting a whole lot of support from other avenues. And so why do they come to us? It's safe and they get what they need. And you're right, it's survival day by day. So the next day, what they get today isn't necessarily going to make a huge difference tomorrow. They have to repeat the process. But one of my favorite psychologist authors talks about loneliness being the most painful human emotion. And what we see is people solving that loneliness problem in community. And that's always a start.
I actually have a project that I have not gotten off the ground yet, where I want to explore loneliness, and I actually wrote a proposal for a grant for it, but I never turned it in.
Yeah.
So I still have it. I'm still working on it, but at some point I'll get around to
Well,
doing
let's
that.
talk about that.
Yeah, I would love to do that. And
Yeah.
there's some great organizations like the Carter Foundation in Atlanta that has a grant for something like that, which is probably very few of those around. But at some point I'll get around to doing that. So those are the 10 portraits that I brought in today to kind of share.
So on top of the portraits, and you know, we really want people to see these, people to share these. I'm hoping that those that are still listening have felt like, okay, this was helpful. This was informing. But what I'm really excited about is this video. We have about a 7-minute video. Some of these faces that you've seen on the portraits are part of it, but they tell parts of their story. But listen beneath the words. There's emotion at times there's pride, there's joy, there's suffering, there's sorrow. It's a lot to take in.
So you realize the video was actually an afterthought. So we were there to do the portraits, and anytime I get a chance to record somebody, I usually do. So so kind of the setup on this is that I had a couple of students working with me, and I had a photographer, a very fine photographer, an amazing photographer. Mark Gilliland was working with me also on that day. And we went ahead and set the lights up to do the portrait thing. And I thought, I'm just going to run some video because I probably should. I probably should just listen to them. And so we set it up. I don't consider myself a videographer, so so we're kind of playing around with it. But what became the narrative of that video was that you really get an understanding of how to meet these people. What they're about, and it's not what you think.
Yeah.
Right? It's not
No.
an angry, crazy person that's on, that's over there, that's not dressed well. That it's not. I mean, these people are people, and many of them talked about kindness, and many of them talked about things that were important to them, and you hear the theme of wanting to help others, and you hear the theme of art, and you hear the theme of what it's like to live on the street, and you hear it over and over again, and it was exciting to hear. Now, some of it's hard to listen to.
Yeah, it is
because it's real.
Yeah,
it's in their words, and it's not mine. It is edited, but it's not edited very much.
Yeah,
it is straightforward. And I wanted to present these people as normal folks.
Yeah.
And I think we accomplished that. At the end of the video, simply because I wanted to dig a little deeper, I just asked each of them what makes them happy, and you would be surprised what makes them happy. It doesn't take a lot, anything from candy to pickles, and many other things,
Yes.
right? I mean, one of them talks about music, and
Yeah.
music makes me happy too.
Yeah.
And but it's a different take.
It is. It is. When I first saw the video, it's the ending surprised me, but the ending also helped frame this whole difficult project in with this idea of hope.
Yeah. Well, it should be about hope. We should all be about hope.
That's well said. All right, let's watch this video.
Okay.
Hi. Good morning.
I'm John Rankin, and I'm an artist and an activist, and I like to help people and use my experiences to do that. Well, I was homeless for probably about 7 years. I lived out in the woods and were about quite a few other people. It was a big, large encampment, and it was right here on the outskirts of town. And we were just out, just surviving basically. And then COVID started, and so we didn't know what we were going to do. So I had this friend, she did a lot of outreach out there, and she came to me and she's like, let's start an art group, just to kill some time. And so we decided to do an art group twice a week, and I hosted it at my camp. And so we would set up easels all around, it was a wooded area, and set up our easels, and I had everything set up for everybody when they got there. And we'd paint. So for about 6 months into that, another friend came and he was like, let's do an exhibit for y'all. And so they did. That changed my life. It gave me a lot back that I was missing. My dignity, my humanity. And then I lost the homelessness, and that was the best thing.
My name is Mickey King. I live on the streets. I've been on the streets for 4 years. So, that payment don't give. There's a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people. A homeless person ain't got no chance whatsoever. And people don't feel sorry for you either. I praise to God every day. If I did, He wouldn't watch over me. But living on the streets, it's not fun out there. And it's people talk about it all the time, that people being homeless, but some people are scared of homeless people, which I understand that. But all homeless people are not the same.
In 2021, it's been a long, hard process due to I had a traumatic brain injury. It has affected my memory. It's took me away from my family, my grandchildren. Just been the most painful. Being unstable is very difficult. My thoughts and my speaking and my emotions have been so different since the head injury. St. Catherine's is a historical church off of 7th Street, and it is a used to be a military hospital, and they've been very gracious and giving, and very much appreciate everything that they've done. They allow us to stay. There's 8 occupancies there, and therefore we don't have to stay outside, and we don't have to carry our laundry to be washed, and we can prepare food. And God is good. It's been a blessing.
My name's Rick Haney. I'm currently living in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm currently homeless. I'll be 65 this Sunday, January 11th. I've been on the street since the end of August. I'm currently trying to find housing. I think I'm pretty close to finding something. I hope once I get off the street I can help try to help the coalition. I have a lot of good ideas to possibly help the homeless. I want to say thanks to all the churches. They have donated. They didn't need to, but they did.
My name is Jeff Coleman, and I am a military vet. I have a problem with, I have medical issues when I wake up in the morning. Due to a VA function, I guess, something happened there. But I don't get movement till like 40 to 50 minutes later. So my days kind of like drags in the mornings.
My name is Tammy, and what makes me happy is eating a pickle.
I'm John Rankin, and Sour Patch Kids make me happy.
My name is Harold Mercer. Music does make me happy.
Deborah Coulter, and I enjoy helping other people.
Joanne Smith. Okay, I be happy when I'm around the homeless. Yeah, I do.
Well, that was great. And Billy, I want to thank you again for your willingness to do this project. The amount of skill and talent that you brought to this project, it exceeded what I thought we could do with this. And I think these are important stories to tell. But this isn't your only thing that you do. You have other projects that you've worked on. You've worked for National Geographic and other magazines?
Well, I have been in Geographic. I'm not a staff photographer for them. But yeah, I've worked for many, many, many national, well-known magazines, and started my career at the Chattanooga Times. Actually started it at UTC, working for the University Echo. Yay, go Mocs! And then moved on to work at the Chattanooga Times for many years. And when the two papers merged, I became the director of photography and graphics there for 10 years. And then stretched out and decided to do a lot of international work. And a lot of people look at my work and think that I'm photographing poverty. I'm not. I'm photographing humanity.
Yeah.
And takes
and
me
two things can be true, right?
Yes. It takes me, that camera has given me the opportunity to collect stories.
Yeah.
And I love collecting stories. As a matter of fact, I teach a class now at UTC about storytelling, and we take students and we go places. In my own work, I've worked in about 50 different countries, and I've been from. I've not covered war, but I've been in war zones. I've covered conflict. I go into areas and photograph areas that need help, and a lot of times that's for NGOs, for organizations that provide medical care or provide education for these people. And I do a lot of this, and actually heading off next week to another one. So
where are you going?
I'm going to Indonesia.
Excellent.
And on the 19th, and then be there for a couple of weeks and be back, and then headed out to South America and going to Colombia down near the Ecuador border.
So if people want to see your work, where would they go?
You can go to billyweeks.com, but I got to tell you, I don't keep that website up very well. But it's there, and I think the last time I posted in there was in December. So, but you can see it there. You can also catch me on Instagram and on Facebook.
Excellent. Well, thanks again.
Thank you for having me today.
Thanks for listening to Give Me Shelter. If you made it this far in the episode, I invite you to share it with at least one person today, because change happens one conversation at a time. I'm Baron King. We'll see you next time.